Now, the UK does not have politicians representing expats abroad, but France does. I'm delighted to say I'm joined now in the studio by Axelle Lemaire, the first French member of the National Assembly to represent more than 140,000 French citizens in Northern Europe. Axelle, thank you very much for coming in. Welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
First of all, can you explain your post to us? How exactly does that work, to be an MP representing constituents abroad?
Yes, I know it looks odd. I live in London and I work in Paris. That's where I sit in the National Assembly. So I spend 3 days a week in Paris and the rest of the time in my constituency. That is 10 countries, including the UK, including Scotland. And so I represent the actually probably 500,000 French people who live in the north of Europe, try to meet with them or by online and address their problems, but also represent their views and their international approach in the National Assembly.
And you're going around Scotland today, meeting some of the French citizens.
Exactly. I was in Edinburgh yesterday, Glasgow today, Aberdeen tomorrow. And as I usually do, I'm holding surgeries and organising public meetings.
Now, would you recommend this system for the Westminster Parliament, do you think, to have MPs representing British expats who live abroad?
It's very funny because I receive emails from British people who live in Spain, in Australia or South Africa, and they say, could you please write to the Prime Minister and ask him to have the same system? I think it is a new form of political representation. It also shows a new reality, which is the fact that millions of citizens live outside of their country, but they still have the language, they still have the culture, they still like their country. So it's a way to keep their citizenship alive.
Now, you're here in Scotland at an exciting time politically with the independence referendum, and of course there's the old alliance between France and Scotland, long historical connections. And what is the feeling in France about Scottish independence, do you think?
I think the way we see it is probably seen from the larger debate on the referendum on a possible EU exit that has been announced by the Prime Minister. And I had to come here to realise that it is more complex than that the timings are different, that the expectations, realities are different. So it's actually two completely different issues, but we don't get much information about what's going on in Scotland at the moment.
So it's interesting to hear that they're kind of rolled together. We heard recently from the President of the European Commission, José Manuel Barroso, that Spain may not want an independent Scotland to join the EU because, of course, it has problems with its own secessionist movements. And, of course, perhaps France might not want an independent Scotland to join the EU, perhaps because it might encourage perhaps Corsican nationalism. Do you think France would want an independent Scotland to join the European Union?
Well, more than anything else, I think it's important to remain neutral in this debate. It's up to the Scottish people and to the people who live in Scotland in general to express their views. There's a very heated but democratic debate going on, and I don't think it was up to President Barroso to say what he thinks about it. We all know he's the current president of the European Commission, but his mandate is coming to a term soon with the new commission that will be nominated after the European elections taking place at the end of May. So he has a personal agenda. He apparently wants to be the next General Secretary of NATO. In order to become that, he needs the support of the United Kingdom and David Cameron. So clearly he did that for reasons that probably aren't as legitimate as they appear. So I wouldn't like to do the same. I think it's important for foreign countries or foreign politicians to remain neutral and respect the will of the Scottish people.
So that was quite a big geopolitical question. Let's look at another issue in the referendum debate, the one about childcare. The SNP are promising increased childcare if there is an independent Scotland. You live in the UK and work in France. Can you compare and contrast the offer of childcare that's available in France and the United Kingdom?
Yes, so I don't know about the differences between Scotland and the rest of the UK, but what I can talk about is the French system. And certainly we're trying to do a lot at the moment to create new places in nurseries to ensure that women can get back to work after they had a child. It is very problematic if it's more costly to stay at home to look because you can't afford childcare. So it's by pursuing equality, but also for economic reasons, to put women back into the job market, to encourage them to consume, to buy goods, so to increase the GDP, that I think it's a very reasonable measure to develop the childcare offer. I must say, as a London resident, I think at the moment it is not developed enough.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. Axelle, Lemaire, thank you very much for speaking to us. Thank you for coming.